Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, rise up. We are back. Episode 14 now of the Scottish Falcons show, the flagship to AFN International LLC, with your boys, the Scottish Falcons. I, as always, am Will the Thrill Waddle, and the gentleman to my left is Des Scottish Falcon Stevenson, my good friend and brother. How are you tonight?
Well, not too great, to be honest, because went shopping today in Tesco, which is effectively our Walmart, and I heard somebody disrespecting my quarterback's name.
Come on.
So obviously I had to actually banjo him on in the yogurt aisle. But apart from that, yeah, everything's well. Well, so, but again,
war on. Did he have a jersey? That's the question.
No, not at all. Not at all. He disrespected my quarterback name, and like whatever everybody in Flowery Branch, I can't accept that. I need to deal with that. Yeah. So I had to.
And that's something we'll talk about later on, because I mean, we finally got a QB who's going to fight his own corner as well. We'll have a wee chat about that in a little bit. But let's have a wee look first off and see if there's anyone in the room. Starting things off, we do have one. Floyd, good to see you again as always. The Fight Club Falcons, hell yeah, we're bringing it this year with an intensity and a sense of pride for yourself in this team that's not been seen in some time. So we're here for it. But yeah, before we get into like training camp itself, there's a couple of things we wanted to talk about in terms of injuries. So I know you were saying the other day, Des, about Money Mooney, Darnell, and his injury progression in regards to the shoulder. So from what I hear, they have changed his status from unable to perform to questionable. Yeah. So it means we're basically looking at maybe week 1, week 2 of regular season, if not before, which is great news because, as I say, when you went down and get carted off, you do worry. But surely, I mean, even with all the competition and everything going on, I feel like that's a body we still need to have in there, taking meaningful snaps. Don't you agree, Des?
Absolutely. I mean, I think Darnell Mooney would have been a 1,000 yards receiver last year if he hadn't been injured. I think the last game. So, and to be honest, the way that you're now seeing this team, I think that whatever happened, I think Michael Penix would have made sure he got his 1,000 yards. I think it was 992 yards. So there's no team in the NFL can lose nearly a 1,000 yard wide receiver and not feel the pinch. Obviously, we've got a good depth at wide receiver, I think, and we do. Obviously, one of the players to watch is Casey Washington, and Raheem Morris actually mentioned him in one of his pressers, how impressed he was by how well Casey Washington had been doing. Michael Penix actually said in his interview that during the off-season, Casey Washington would get in contact with him and ask him about things and all that. And he's eager to learn. And again, obviously, Michael Penix was asked about Darnell Mooney missing so much time and how it would affect their chemistry. And he said that he'd worked with him during the off-season. So effectively, I mean, from my point of view, as I say, the quicker he's back, the better.
I agree.
But we've got Ray McLeod, you know what I mean? I think we've got a good depth. And let's hope, but again, as I say, questionable could be a week, 2 weeks, you know what I mean? 3 weeks, week 1, you know what I mean? It could be either way. So, so the quicker he's back, the better.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And just to continue shouting out some of the frequent flyers, as you say, Miss Sonia. We've also got Georgia, Texas boy, Lamarcus. What's up, my brother? As you say, another frequent flyer, always in the building. And you and I are going to talk soon, my brother. So So you just hold on to your bet on that. But yeah, and another injury that's been concerning that I only just recently found out about is defensive back Kobe Bryant. Now, he was brought in to kind of play that nickel/corner role a little bit, but from what I hear, it's a hamstring. He's limited, but he's not been pupped. So it's not serious. But again, this point in the season, you really need to be kind of. The mental reps are good, and as much as it would be good to have him out on the field, you can definitely see why. As in a lot of cases earlier on with Jalen and with guys like that, it's too risky. And
I mean,
I'm sure you agree with that.
yeah. So I mean, coming into training camp, well, one of the names that was in everybody's thoughts was Kobe Bryant. You know what I mean? Effectively, I mean, he should have been drafted, but for some reason he felt he was undrafted, and we got him as an undrafted free agent, and I think everybody was saying that he could actually go into the 53-man roster.
Yeah,
obviously he's
quite
had
easily.
injury and I don't think he's played much, or he's done a lot of work in training camp.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to have its impact. I still think with his talent, I think there's still a possibility he could get onto the practice squad. But again, you look that we've obviously just made a signing. Was the signing made because of the injury to Kobe Bryant? We don't know.
It could
But
be. I mean, because you look at the two signings. Because I mean, we'll get into the defensive signings in a little bit. But I mean, we brought in one cornerback, one safety. So, and it's, you know what we've been saying a lot about versatility and things like that. So there's a lot of different issues that could be in place. But we're stacked at wide receiver and at DB. So it's kind of. There's going to be some tough choices, as we've said a few times. And shout out to Andrew down in the chat there, Mr. Marriott. We've been discussing things on X for a little while now. He's been meaning to catch us. So shout out to our fellow countrymen there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've come across Andrew a few times. We've had a few messages now and again. So again, the international Falcons fan base is growing every day. So again, really appreciate you coming on, Andrew. And we'll probably meet up one day soon. We can all have a beer or whatever it is that's your poison kind of thing. So
yeah, we would love that. And also, as I say, Andrew, you're more than welcome. If you'd like to come on one time, get in touch. We'll get you on, because we're always happy to represent, fly the flag, not just for the Scotland, the Saltire and the Lion Rampant, but we keep that Falcons flag flying high all around the world. So we're glad to see you in the chat this time, brother. It's a privilege. But yeah, a lot kind of going on in terms of injuries, but that's just again something to go with the physicality of what these boys are bringing to practice. And speaking about obviously practice and what we are feeling in ourselves as an organisation, we've caught a couple of the coach Morris pressers over the last few days. Again, as we were saying behind the scenes, he's very diplomatic, so he'll tell you a lot without saying very much.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we say here, he's poker face and ready to go, presser mode. But yeah, from what he said, I've picked up in a good couple of points that he's made. First off, he says that he's proud of how the boys have behaved themselves. Now, obviously, behave is a relative term, but yeah, the boys have been handling themselves and conducting themselves well, going to bat for each other. I mean, there's a photo I'll pull up later where it's basically the whole team is in after Penix was taken to the ground. So
yeah,
I love we're going in together. Next man up, and I'm right at your back, because that's the way. I mean, fundamentally, it's the way you should be looking to build a team. And as I say, the way Ulbrich and Nate Ollie are getting that defense adjusted, it's different, and it's different this year, man. It just is.
I mean,
how do you feel about that?
What I would say is that I'll go back to what we've discussed in past shows about the kneel down touchdown in the swamp. But no, was it in the swamp or I think it was here against the Aints? And how I said that if that was a real team, there would have been riots. There would have been literally players banned for the fact that the Aints done that to our team, and the fact that it literally just there was nothing happened on that was garbage. Now I then look at this team and the mindset has changed. It's all about we will do what we want to do. If you disrespect us or if you have any issues against us, tough, we're going to do the way we want to do it. And you've seen that with Penix. I mean, I heard a report that Terry Fontenot was in there as well. So again, that just goes to show that, as we've said before, something has changed in the air in Atlanta. And when you see that, when you hear that effectively Jesse Bates ran from the other field, you know what I mean? You hear Caden Ellis talk about how one of the players come up to him and said, our QB, our quarterback is different. He actually started the fight. You know what I mean? And it's a case of, do you know what I mean? If you disrespect, we've always said about the disrespect on the Atlanta Falcons from the media and how effectively since 2017 and the Super Bowl, we've been whipping boys and effectively let's all have a laugh at the Falcons. Well, this coaching staff and this players and this team are now saying enough is enough. We've heard enough of the 28-3. We've heard enough how this team is mediocre, blah, blah, blah. This team is pulled the strings up and said, you know what, enough's enough. We've got Jesse Bates, the best safety in the land. We've got AJ Terrell. We've got Michael Penix Jr. You know what I mean? We've got one of the best O-lines in the country. You know what I mean? We've got Drake London. You know what I mean? We've got Darnell Mooney. We've got Bijan. We've got Tyler Algier. You know what I mean? It goes on and on and on. You know,
and that's even before you throw guys like Kyle Pitts into the mix, and we could go on all night, and it's a great place to be, and truly. But yeah, like as I say, like Terry Fontenot built like a truck. Yeah, he is. Like that's not a man I want to fight. If I'm going into a war with a coach, that's the coach I want behind me, not in front of me.
Absolutely. But as I said, I will go back to that. And Arthur Smith was sacked that literally at 12 o'clock. As soon as midnight hit in Atlanta, he was fired. As soon as you could fire him, you fired him. And it was obviously based on the way the team was playing. But if you're Arthur Blank and you're watching effectively a mediocre team walk off after a kneel-down touchdown, which was ridiculously disrespectful to your team, and there wasn't even a flutter on that field. If you're Arthur Blank, you're looking at that and saying, this is not a team. There is no brotherhood. He's seen what the brotherhood was like during the 2016 season, and he looked at that and he said there was no brotherhood. It's not a coincidence that he then pulls back and goes for this year. It's Raheem Morris and Jeff Ulbrich, and he brings back some of the team. You know what I mean? Because that I mean, honestly, that still lives in my brain every day. I think about that. The fact that they done that to us, and we're going to destroy them this year. And again, no disrespect to the Titans, but the Titans ain't our benchmark. You know what I mean? We expect to go into practice and destroy you guys. That's just the way it's going to be. But I've
you can talk, and this we'll get into later on with Calvin. You can talk mad shit all you want, but even the media know that it's just trash talk. Because I mean, he said that he's like, we beat them today. Make sure y'all write that down. And somebody went, well, did you write it down? And he went, no, because they didn't. But he did look all right. So it's like,
listen. Calvin needs to shut his mouth and effectively, we'll try and remember the one good season we got out of him before he disappeared out into the ocean or wherever. You know what I mean? He gave us one good season. You know what I mean? Again, I know he was going through the last season. I know he was going through a lot of issues. But if you're a Falcons fan, you remember there was times where he wasn't prepared to go in and take a tackle. There was times where if you look back and watch Calvin Ridley, and again, I know he was going through some issues and all that kind of stuff, but I can't talk for that. I can only talk about what I see on the park. And you could see there was times where he would go down before getting hit.
He's one of these guys where they talk about his shiftiness, but I guess that's the way you need to play when you are one of these people who do not like being hit. And I feel like that's always been his style. He's a great athlete, and he is very shifty, and he's got nice moves, and his route running's okay. But he's got the speed and the athleticism to make his routes a little bit crisper. His cuts a little bit neater, if you know what I'm saying. So he can get that space. But I don't feel like Ridley's a world beater in any way, shape, or form. I feel like he also, a lot of the pain was self-inflicted in a lot of ways, like trying to claim mental health as much as it's a grey area. People don't pretend to have mental health issues. They pretend to be okay. And then just weeks after the fact, he gets caught gambling on, I don't know if it was Falcons games, it was definitely NFL games. So he can really throw out all the trash he wants to, but it's like, bro, you had some big boy decisions to make and you made them, and they weren't the right decisions.
But the thing is, what I would say about Calvin Ridley is Calvin Ridley's a good a wide receiver too, but he's an average wide receiver one.
Yes.
And to be honest, to effectively win a one-on-one against AJ Terrell and turn around and point at AJ Terrell, that was one of his brothers, you know what I mean? That was one of the guys that effectively was there to help him out. And to do that, it wasn't nice at all. But again, it's down to him. He wanted to.
There you go. There's the explanation from D right there.
Yeah.
Didn't he get his parlay, and that's what caused it. He just thought, fuck all this, and decided to follow his boy Julio out.
D Coleman, I need to salute that. That's a good one. Absolutely fantastic.
Oh dear. If you can't laugh sometimes.
But what I would say is, again, it was all, as you say, it's all trash talk. You know what I mean? And again, it get a wee bit heated. But from my point of view, as I say, the Titans are not our benchmark.
No.
But as I say, you see the disrespect from Ridley. You see the disrespect against Michael Penix Jr. And effectively, Michael Penix Jr. coming out and said that they called out his name or they disrespected his name, and he became a different person. You know what I mean? So,
like, I think if the quote I read's correct, he said something along the lines of, they were using a lot of dirty words. I just decided to use some of my words in return. I was like, love it. But it's like, when's the last time, like maybe 2016, when's the last time you've seen a QB pull on red and black and you're like, nah, that's my guy? Because I mean, obviously after that, it's you know how the last 4 years has been QB wise. So, but yeah, it's good to be there again. It really is.
I mean, no, I think the biggest thing was, and again, I remember getting into the 2016 season, and it was all about the brotherhood, how we were all a brotherhood. And again, I think after maybe the 2017 season was decent, but again, that was all lost. That all just disappeared. And it just, I mean, we said before that the Atlanta Falcons team have been a team where when you actually look at the parts that they've got, the results have been worse compared to the parts that they've got. And you look at good teams have got very average parts, but they all come together and they become a team. And we've not got average parts. We've got like fantastic players. And again, when you hear from training camp, you hear from the scrums and the one-on-ones against the Titans. I mean, literally, it was night and day.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And when you're talking about teams like the Titans giving us disrespect and things like this, it really makes me question like where we're at, because at the end of the day, I understand that, yeah, in game one we took the L, but that was what that was. That was no fault of our own. But at the same time, a lot of people are sleeping on this team still. They feel like I wouldn't necessarily agree with this. I've seen maybe a dozen, maybe 15, 18 tops bad passes, and even then they're not objectively bad passes. He's leading a little much, or he's just overthrown slightly because he's trying to get a little more motion out of Drake or something, and he's been just past the fingertips. They're not horrendous miscues, so I don't know where that sort of logic is coming from, that he's not been consistent, because I feel like MPJ has been massively consistent with some of the balls he's been delivering in camp. So
I mean, from what you're hearing, well, the deep ball is he's been against Southside Ricky. Fantastic to have you on, mate. From what you hear in training camp, the deep ball is phenomenal. It's effectively the shorter red zone passes where he's struggling. Now, if only we had effectively a Pro Bowl phenom called Bijan Robinson, who could effectively, when we only have to do 3 or 4 yards, could step in and effectively get these 3 or 4 yards, or a sledgehammer like Tyler Algier, who could step up and effectively barge his way through the defense.
Yeah, I seen a really good one. I seen a good one on X the other night. Someone proposed a name for our backfield. Bijan is Duke and Tyler's Nuke.
Yeah,
I quite like that.
Yeah, that'll go over a lot of heads, to be honest. Well, you know what I mean. So the lap dancing pigs and all that kind of thing, you know what I mean? So
catch you motherfuckers at a bad time.
We've been talking games, and that's one of the games I did actually play.
Time to kill his goated, man.
Yeah, and again, let me just have a wee look. D. Coleman again. I like our depth defensively. Our back O-line didn't show the best push in the run last week. Yeah, I agree. And these backup running backs need to show way more. What I would say is, effectively, if you've not got a good O-line that's creating the space for you to run, we're not going to be able to see how good a running back is. That is the problem. You know what I mean?
And I mean, who is RB3 right now? It's still Carlos Washington Jr., right?
Yeah, I would say so. But again, you look back at the year that we drafted Tyler Algier. There was a player called Caleb Huntley. Do you remember Caleb Huntley?
I vaguely do, yeah.
Yeah, now he played fantastic, and he then got injured, and I don't think he ever came back. But Caleb Huntley, because we had such a good O-line, when he had to step up with for Tyler Algier, obviously it was Patterson at that point that we had as well. When he had to step on the park, then I mean he was doing phenomenally well because the O-line, because A was a good running back, and B because the O-line was creating the space for him to get through. So it kind of it goes both ways. D. Coleman, effectively you need a good O-line, and to be honest, the O-line at the game last week, it wasn't doing enough. I think, to be honest, they were more worried about keeping space for the quarterback than effectively trying to open up the space for a running back. But again, when I've never played the game. Well, you've played the game, but I think when you're at a point where you're effectively you're in a game and you're having to think things, it's not all smooth. You know what I mean? And you look at Ryan Nuzul. You know what I mean? Ryan Nuzul was a backup, like a backup of a backup for a long time, and how he learned the scheme and done rotational play and preseason games, and how he got to the level where he's now obviously our starting centre. So again, you can't write these guys off. You can't just say that Jack Nelson was garbage and that's it. We're done with. And I've heard a few people saying Jack Nelson was garbage. I've had enough of him. Let's move on. I mean, he's literally played one preseason game. He's a rookie. You know what I mean? I would ask anybody to go and their first day, start a new job, go on the first day into that job and be able to do everything. You know what I mean? This is what these guys are up against. So, listen, I understand where everybody's coming from, but writing a player off after the first preseason game is ridiculous from my point of view. What do you think, Will?
I agree with you, and I'm going to shout out D again here. This is another great comment. O-line and RB is your peanut butter and jelly, or peanut butter and jam over here. You can't have one without the other. And I was going to say, look at Christian McCaffrey. Do you really think that Christian McCaffrey would have been considered the best tailback in the league for 2, 3, 4, 3.5, 4 seasons if he wasn't running behind Trent Williams, who's arguably the best left tackle of all time? So, it's as a skill position player, I don't feel like the guys in the trenches get nearly enough credit for the work that they do, because no offense can flurry, and no offense can be the type to kind of go on a deep postseason run without a solid offensive line, and with depth, because it's a high injury potential position. And that's where I start to get concerned, because I'd be wanting these guys progressing a little bit faster. But then again, we've got a group of guys on that O-line who don't tend to get hurt very much. I mean, look at the captain of it all, Jake Matthews. He's missed one game in 12 seasons. So, I mean, as I say, it's good to have the depth in case we need it, but I feel like the guys we've got in that O-line are solid. I feel like for the first time, I can look down that line and not see one guy where I'm like, there's your weak link. I can't do that this year. And again, it's refreshing.
I mean, we've said before, Drew Dolman, the contract Drew Dolman got, the Falcons were never paying that. And effectively, they didn't need to pay it because we always had a good backup at centre in Ryan Nuzul. And effectively, that's why Atlanta Falcons were allowed to, but effectively Terry Fontenot was allowed to say, well, listen, Drew, that's the best contract we can give you. If it's not enough for you, go elsewhere. And he ended up going to Chicago. You know what I mean?
What's similar on the D-line to what it is on the O-line. Centres never get paid as much as a decent guard will, and a defensive tackle will never be paid as much as a high-level edge rusher. And I feel like you can see the way the league's going with a lot more different positions trying to kind of even it up a little bit in terms of pay scale, because they do a very similar job. But I feel like at one point Dolman was asking for borderline guard money, and it was like, yeah, nah, especially because Ryan was already progressing through the games that he played at the tail end of last year and things like that. But no.
But again, go back to that. I mean, and again, I've said this in previous shows. Drew Dolman had a tendency to kind of, as I say, shit the bed sometimes when it came to snapping. Sometimes he snaps. I mean, it was maybe only once or twice this season, but it always came at the crucial point where he would do a bad snap, the ball would get dropped and there'd be a fumble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bear in mind
that he was in Green Bay. He had 2 bad fumbles, both on shotgun, and we ended up having to try and operate our offense at a pistol. which completely threw Kirk off, and just we looked shit in that Green Bay game. We just looked like deers in the headlights, and that's not like our offense to look. A good wee question here for Floyd. We've mentioned this a couple of times, but we're both in and around the city of Glasgow. So I'm Glaswegian born, but I'm out in Western Bartonshire now, which is the next county along to the west. And Des, for yourself, it's Serdry, isn't it? So out in Lanarkshire, but pretty close to Glasgow. So yeah, Central Belt.
Is Floyd a Scotsman, or is he in the UK? Again, let us know where you are, Floyd.
Yeah,
shout out. And again, D Coleman, everybody on the show that's putting in messages, let us know where you actually are. You know what I mean? We are international, so effectively, if you're in Atlanta, what's that?
I'm saying that's the beauty of it all. As I say, when I first started this thing, man, from Atlanta to the world, and that's all we're trying to do. So it means so much to have all you guys coming in and interacting with us twice a week.
I was going to say, if Floyd Donnelly is Scottish, you'll understand that I'm effectively positioned in Buckfast Alley. That's what you call it here during Coatbridge. It's Buckfast Alley. So you need to be Scottish to understand that. So
we're a little bit more refined. It's more Mad Dog 2020 or my way.
Yeah. It's a posher alcohol for the posher ones in Clydebank. Yes, that's it.
That's it for when you're out with the nice monocle that matches your trackie on the way to your granny's 30th. Moving on though. As I say, we could tell you some horror stories, but we won't. But yeah, as I say, we mentioned some of the stuff about this second string all line, but we feel like it needs to progress and stuff. So let's get into the real crux of it then. So from the 2 days worth of joint practices with Tennessee, I've got 3 guys that I'm going to single out here in the photos that I felt done really well in places. So first off, we have Chris Blair, then DeMarco Helms, and finally, especially from the Nate Ollie mic-up session, Big AK, Arnold Ebiketie, 2 sacks in like 5 plays to close out practice today. 2 pressures he got, and I think it was 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and against Detroit. So I feel like Ebiketie's really, really playing some good football, and as I say, Helms is just an absolute killer.
Absolutely. And the fact, Will, that you've actually mentioned 3 players and 2 of them are on defense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's the important part. We know what this offense is going to do. We know there's literally, and again, when you look at it, Michael Penix Jr. could have Chris Blair and Dylan Drummond running for him in wide receiver, and he's going to get them. He's going to get the guys. What I would say is the thing that excites me most is the fact that I think Michael Penix Jr. is going to be able to elevate a lot of players. I'll go back to the Mohamed Sanoos. Mohamed Sanoos was a great wide receiver, but playing with Matt Ryan elevated him. And then effectively you look at what was it, Gage? Was it Russell Gage?
Russell Gage. Yep.
Again, he got a fantastic contract with the Bucks right after one of the seasons, and that was because effectively a wide receiver is nothing without a competent quarterback that's going to get him the ball. And that was players who...
Another great comment there, and when we were talking about some of the players on defense that we need to be watching out for, Brandon Dorlus is really coming along. He was one of the names that Mike suggested to me in the offseason, and I was like, but we're so deep. I mean, we've got TQ, we've got Morgan Fox, and he's like, nah, don't sleep on this guy. And I'm glad I didn't, because he's really coming into his own. You're right. And I like this one as well. Will said he'd run a crosser right at Helms. He ain't scared. He's a Scotsman. Aye, because do you know what? I'd expect. I know I'm going to be hit. That's the thing. A lot of wide receivers play the position and go, "You can't catch me." I'm not the fastest guy. I run about on my best day, I run about a 4.62, 4.64. So I'm a little bit faster than like Xavier Restrepo, but I'm more of a kind of route runner guy. But when you're talking about the attitude to the game, I expect to be hit. So bring it on, basically. So
Listen, mate, if you've grew up in Scotland, you expect to be hit. You know,
well,
I mean, we don't that what I think what people don't understand is, well, I grew up in Margaret Thatcher, Scotland, where effectively she tried to destroy our country. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get into politics, but effectively very, very poor. I was really, really, really poor. So effectively, I know there's a lot of poverty around the world, but when you grew up in that, and I used to joke that if I wanted to see the boxing, I just opened up my curtains and looked outside, and I watched. It was normally the police boxing somebody, or somebody boxed the police. You know what I mean? So that creates a mindset that when you actually see or you think about pain against you, it's nothing. Pain comes and goes. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah.
So that's how a lot of Scotsmen are quite tough. That we're real. I always say I think most Scotsmen are real men. You know what I mean? We don't agree with a lot of the Generation Alpha and all that kind of stuff and everything they're trying to show it is, but we'll put up with it and we'll shut our mouth and we'll move on. But effectively, if you come at us and you say something disrespectful to us and our quarterback, then we're going to react. You know what I mean? So just like the team.
Yeah, and that's something that like I feel like we share with the guys over in the A is like we're incredibly friendly people. We're well received on an international basis, which and as we know, being abroad, as you would see it, that some parts of America are received in the world stage better than others. But no, you share a reputation with us. A lot of people feel like they're gentle, they just want to have a good time with you, and it's like, oh yeah, 100%, but don't fucking piss us off, and you'll be fine.
But well, what I would say as well is that the one thing that I love about Scotland is, see, if you want to come to Scotland, right, we don't care. If you're coming here to work hard and provide for your family, we appreciate the fact that there's people want to come to this country and call it their home. That's the difference. We don't look on all that as being a lot of nasty stuff. And if you come here and you work hard and you treat us with respect, we'll treat you with respect. That's the way we've always been. But if you disrespect us and you show disrespect to our country, and again, I don't know your political views, Will, but my country's Scotland. I'm Scottish first and British second. You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah, I'm just going to sum up my thoughts in a quite a generic way. I would tell you that there's no Union flag without building first after Saltire.
Yeah.
There is no union without Scotland, and any Englishman or Northern Irishman or Welshman with logic would tell you that as well.
Absolutely.
It's the basis upon which the Union Jack was built. But yeah, to kind of go off that wee tangent, we've got another good point here. You all made me look up Gage. Bucks gave him 3 for 30 million. Get your money, but at no point was Gage a 10 million per year receiver.
Absolutely.
No chance.
And that was based on a quarterback that elevated that man.
Mm-hmm.
And effectively, when you look at the Chris Blairs and the Dylan Drummonds and effectively the Casey Washingtons, who again got a name check, that's what Michael Penix Jr. is doing. He's elevating these players. That's how I'm excited, because the defense is getting better and Michael Penix Jr. is elevating these players. Now, when you then look at Drake London, Drake London is effectively, I believe, a top 5 wide receiver. So you're then going to elevate him as well. So I mean, this year the sky's the limit for Drake London. And again, I'll say it again. We're only starting to see Drake London become the player that he is because he's got competent quarterback play.
Yes, now, and that's what's been lacking for Pitts as well, as we've said many times.
Absolutely.
For all the athletic gifts that he has, and they are many, you need consistent play. What up, home team? Good to see you, brother Blackberry, home team with Blackberry shouting out. One of the heavy hitters as well, you know. So we're glad to see you in the chat as always. But we have a hell of a lot to get through tonight.
Yeah, let's have a look at the chats because a few of them have put on where they're from. So
yeah, I did see Northern New York for Floyd there, up next to the Great Frozen North. You were saying?
Well, what I would say is Floyd Donnelly's you've definitely got a bit of Irish ancestry on that 100%. Name. Either Irish or a bit of Scottish. That is I mean, if you meet somebody called Floyd Donnelly, and he's Scottish, you're assuming that his parents or his grandparents had some sort of Irish descent. So you'll need to come back to us on that, Floyd, and let us know if your parents or your grandparents or your great grandparents were from this side of the pond.
He might just be a brother from another mother. We never know.
Absolutely. Then you've got Andrew, and I think Andrew, I know he's obviously the other side, 15 mile west of Edinburgh. So that would be
But towards Livingston?
Maybe? Yeah, possibly. Yeah. So up that way. So, and then Floyd said up near Canada. So. It's, as I say, if any are on and you're new to the channel, again, feel free to share where you guys are from. I mean, it's fantastic. Who'd have thought us starting the show and we've got somebody from New York effectively watching the show. I mean, fantastic.
Yeah,
and he's not a Jets or a Giants, hopefully.
Oh well, yeah. As I say, like. You've kind of committed yourself to the right kind of pain. At least with the Falcons, you get some wins to hang your hat on, whereas New York not so much. But yeah, as you say,
Andrew's come back. Yeah, that's right. West Lothian.
Got
so he's from West Lothian. So we've got a good mixture international. We've got New York, we've got West Lothian, Airdrie, Clydebank, we've got Atlanta. So it's
Arizona with Georgia, Texas boy. He's over in Arizona as well. So we're kind of covering. Well, that's essentially two corners of the states. Arizona's out west, and New York's up in the northeast. So we're crossing countries here, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And everybody's here just to talk about the Falcons, you know what I mean? So
yeah, and that's what I say. Is like, I know we wanted to bring it down to the 2 shows a week, just in terms of just giving you guys the highest level of quality that we felt we had in us. So just to have you guys still embracing it and along for the ride, it means so much. But yeah, while we're talking about embracing the culture a little bit, the other big thing that we did see, of course, we've teased it, was of course MPJ. He was taken to the ground. He's then got up and some hands were exchanged. The sideline then emptied, as you see here. And I'm glad to see that there's just as many black jerseys, if not more, in that mix than there is white. Because that's what I want to see. If one of your boys goes down, I want to see that bench clear. Not for a thuggish sort of mindset, but I just want people to know that pardon my French, you fuck with one of us, you fuck with us all.
Absolutely, mate. That's what I put on. Effectively, I put on Twitter, the brotherhood is back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll go back. We go from a kneel down touchdown against the Aints and nothing happened. There should have been riots on that park with the players. Our sideline should have emptied then, and we allowed I won't say what I think. We allowed the Aints to effectively do that against us, and it caused me. Honestly, I don't think I slept a night's wink of sleep that night because of that. How disrespectful that is. Then we're in practice, and somebody says something disrespectful to our quarterback, and he knocks up. He literally goes after him. That's what I want. And when he then stands up, you hear that the whole O-line's in there. They're literally on top of him. The defense is in the other side of the park. They're on another side of the park. They clear out and they head over. And you're effectively saying this is what we pray for. This is team. This is what I would say is that all the training and everything that you could do on that park will not help you as much as what happened there. Effectively, the fact that everybody to Terry Fontenot, they effectively backed up our quarterback, and that's beautiful to see. Bonds
are best forged in fire. I agree with that.
Absolutely.
And from a fan standpoint as well, it's all about family. That was a great epithet there from Jerome. Rise up from Scottsdale to Scotland, from Linden Avenue to London, from the Big Chicken to Big Ben. We're all fucking AFN family. You've got that right, brother. You've got that right. And I've got one more for you. From Glasgow, Scotland to Glasgow, Kentucky. Because I just found that out playing college football, that there is a Glasgow in Kentucky. So shout it out.
Well, you said there's a Stevenson in Alabama.
Yeah, that was the thing. I was like, we need to try and keep it Scottish, but let's see what these hometowns have got to offer. And I seen Glasgow, Kentucky, and I was like, nah, it has to be done, man.
Absolutely.
So yeah, but yeah, as I say, like when you're talking about the fighting. Sorry, on you go, Des. Sorry.
Yeah, going back to the fight, the bond, as you say, that's going to create, and effectively. When you're standing there, you've got the O-line there, you know that your quarterback is prepared to effectively put everything on the line. And I'll go back, watch Caden Ellis's interview, and effectively with some of the players, seemingly Ray McLeod effectively on Twitter said a few things as well, and he was agreeing on effectively Michael Penix. What was said, we don't know what was said, but what was said to him was disrespectful. And he dealt with it, and that's whatever you say about Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was tough, but there was a nicety to him. He was a nice guy. It was like you wanted him to do well because he was a nice guy, right? Michael Penix Jr. He's cocky. He knows he's good. But you want him to do well because how he plays the game. And effectively, I've said before, when it comes to the edge rush and James Pearce, I don't want a nice guy at edge rush. I want them to all be complete loonies. I want them to be nut jobs. I want them to be crazy. I want them to be putting everything on the line. That's what I want. See if I was good enough, and I'll put this out. See if I was good enough to play for my Atlanta Falcons, I would leave everything on that park because the thought of me actually being able to play for the team I love would be so much that effectively I would leave everything on the park. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's the
difference.
I get
you. Like I felt like in Scotland, I'd done everything I had intended to do. I was never going to progress to the level of one of these guys that was competing to get over to the States. So the way I seen it was time to call it quits. But if that phone rang and they went, we could use one more pass catcher, then I don't know, maybe I could dust off the black and red cleats one more time. Who knows? But yeah, that's what I kind of said as well. Too, it's to go with that whole kind of Thermopylae attitude is football's not a one-on-one game. And this is something that the trash talkers need to bear in mind when they get in your face and go, I'm better than you, bro. Because my answer to that would be, well, I don't give a fuck because it's a team sport and my team's going to run you guys over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need to be. It's like, I don't care who you're bringing to the field as long as 53 guys in red and black play for play for each other. That I don't think there's any team in this league that we can't feasibly beat.
Again, well, I'll go back to the
as we say, as long as they play for the bird on their shoulder and the guy on their left and the guy on their right, that's all we want.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go back to 2016. None of you seen it happening. None of you seen it coming. And then effectively that offense just started bulldozing people every game. And it was a case of how many times were they going to how many points were they going to score this game? And it was constant. And I would say you put this team against that team. I think this team's a better team. And effectively, you see what happens with the fighting and everything. And again, yeah, Michael, what was it? Dade City, I think he came out and said Southside Ricky. He was from Dade City. He says, I'm a Tampa boy. So again, it just. I mean, I'm putting myself up to feel the pain again. Because I've done this last season as well. I looked at this team and I was like, yeah, this is it. We're going to do it. This is it. But you look at this team and you can't be anything other than unbelievably optimistic that this could be a phenomenal season. Now, you have to pull it back and say, yeah, Michael Penix Jr. is a rookie. He's only played 3 games. You know what I mean? But you see things like that, and you see how he's in practice, and then you see that he's effectively somebody says something to him, and most people would have turned the other cheek. I know Kirk Cousins would have turned the other cheek. I know Matt Ryan would have turned the other cheek, but we've got Michael Penix Jr. and he doesn't turn the other cheek. He if you say something disrespectful to him, he's going to do it head on, and that's how you want your quarterback to be. Any issue he gets, he takes it head on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. And it's the way you kind of need to be to meet that the challenges head on, because as I say, if you're going to get punched in the mouth, you'd be better served by seeing it coming and knowing what to expect. But now that we've kind of covered a lot of the kind of physical and sort of team camaraderie sort of thing, let's break down a couple of bits of news to do with the roster, Des. So the first one I noticed, I don't know if you've seen too much about this, Coach Morris and also Coach Ulbrich have been talking a lot about the new scheme and the new sort of skill set that they're planning for D'Angelo Malone. Do you know about that?
I've not heard it, no. It's a new
one
for me.
So essentially, he, as you know, is one of these versatile front 7 guys that we've got. What, from my understanding of Jeff Ulbrich's sort of breakdown, he sees a lot of versatility and he can excel in a lot of different ways. But what he essentially wants him to do is what he had him doing a lot of against Detroit. So in the first half, he was playing mainly inside backer. Once guys like Jalen and that started to go out in the second, and James Pierce started to go out into the second and third quarter, he was also getting reps at outside. But what they've been talking about is having him as basically a straight backer, but with a little bit of flex and versatility as to whether he's going to be inside, outside. And again, that's something that they've spoken about with a couple of the guys. Are they going to be more of an end? Are they going to be inside, outside? I feel like we're almost shooting for a team here where you're just going to be listed now as a front 7 player, because we're going to be working on so many different packages and sets like that. But knowing how like D'Angelo is with the power that he has, and he's got a good low front, he's a nice style of hitter, he's not dirty with it, he's got quite a quick get off. I feel like he can do a lot of damage. And as I say, while the middle linebacker spot's still in a little bit of flux, between is it going to be Caden, is it going to be Divine, is it going to be Troy Anderson, what's happening with him and things like this nature, I feel like he's a solid one to throw in that mix too. if he's going to be inside, outside flex. So with that being said, I mean, how do you feel about D'Angelo Malone? Do you think he's going to be someone who's on the outskirts looking in on the 53, or do you think he can really compete for some real reps?
I mean, I think, I mean, in the last few years, you've not seen much of him at all. He's literally just been a rotational linebacker. You know what I mean? So, but again, a lot of you're hearing from reporters that are watching training camp, defense as well, is that there's a lot of rotation. There's a lot of rotation, and I think Ollie, the edge, effectively the defensive line coach, he talked about how it's literally they don't want players to be tired now. It's all about rotation. And effectively, you look at Caden. We've got Caden Ellis. We've obviously brought in Diablo, Divine Diablo. But again, Troy Anderson's. I think, is he back now, or is he still on PUP?
I'm not 100% sure. I think he might have been upgraded to questionable too by now. So in the chat, if I'm getting that wrong, please correct me. But I know he's kind of. They did say when they first listed him at PUP, we're only doing this as a precautionary measure because we feel like he's progressing, just not quite at the rate where we'd maybe want him to be. So I feel like he will get there. It's just a question of when, but we do have the bodies to compensate if he is going to take a little bit longer. I feel like the linebacker core it's young. There's places where we can still do a lot of work. There's unknown quantities to a certain extent, like Trice, and as you say, a little bit more with Malone because he's not played so much the last couple of years and things like this. So I feel like, and also
JD Bertram as well. You've got Captain in America's been injured as well, so I think he's just back. So
and even down to Kubitz, he's not the worst. I mean, he's probably the worst linebacker on our active squad, and he's not bad. He's okay. But he's kind of the one of those bodies where you're like, for a worst linebacker, I'll take it. but yeah.
And again, you hear a lot about Jeff Ulbrich effectively looking at the player and working out where that player sits well in his scheme. You know what I mean? So again, you're hoping that Jeff Ulbrich will elevate some of these players who really have been effectively on the sidelines.
But one thing I did hear that didn't give me not alarm, but did cause me a little to second think a little bit, was when he said something along the lines that I'll be saying to these guys, right, personnel change, and then you'll get Pierce or Walker turn around and just kind of look at you, and you'll be like, no, you need to come after this one. So I feel like, I don't know if that's the dog mentality or if it's too many schemes and adjustments, because I don't want to be all style and no substance, where we've got all these packages, but what the guys don't know whether they're in, whether they're out, and we're getting penalized because of that and things like this. But yeah, as I say, it's kind of.
But well, you look back at Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett was phenomenal for us, but effectively all the other teams would just double team him. You know what I mean? If you controlled Grady Jarrett, there was nothing else there. There was no other substance other than that. You know what I mean? We're now at a point where effectively, as we get to the point where we're going to start having to let players go and whittle it down to this 53-man roster, there's going to be, I've said before, there's going to be players that we are used to seeing in this team that are not going to make it. You know what I mean? And
there's one, another one for D. Coleman I'd agree with. One of the names that I would say is probably not going to make it, despite the strip sack, is Josh Woods. I don't see that he brings enough versatility or enough pressure to really compete with some of these guys higher up the depth chart. So I worry about his place. I would agree with that. But linebacker's an interesting one.
Yeah, I've said before. Sorry to cut over you. I've said before. we need to be in a position where there's players that have been on this team that effectively, when it comes to cut down day, they're on the practice squad. I mean, effectively, we need to be in a position where our practice squad is getting decimated because effectively other teams are coming in for our players. That's just that. I will say, if the one thing that changes this year that we're not used to, it will be the fact that a lot of teams are going to come in for our practice squad players because the depth that we've had, we've been at a point where we are so used to having such an average, effectively practice squad that nobody comes in and does anything with it. You know what I mean? Nobody comes and takes any players from it. But when you're looking at this squad, and obviously you're talking about Josh Woods, effectively, this is what I love about pre-season. Friday night will come and Josh Woods might be the best player on the park. You just don't know that. That's the whole reason why there's three preseason games. It's effectively all to do with seeing how these players react. You know what I mean? But as we've seen before, Terry Fontenot isn't scared with effectively letting players go and bringing in other players if he doesn't see what he believes he wants to see in a player.
At the moment, with the knocks you're talking about, yes, but if Troy is only questionable and he's on the way to return, then it's a different conversation. So I feel like which way we would go with that, D, would depend entirely about where Troy and JD are in terms of their recovery. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be mad to hold on to him. I feel like he's not the worst option, as I say, but I feel like especially if Troy and JD can get healthy in the next sort of 3-4 week span, it's going to be tough for him, I feel. But yeah, as I say, I've got a couple more things in terms of the roster as well. So we did see it mentioned earlier, but the Falcons are planning to, and I think as of the time of this, he only has to clear a medical.
Yeah.
Former first round pick for the Jaguars, also a former Panther and Steeler, CJ Henderson. Quite a good cornerback, as I say, came in with a first round valuation. He's kind of bounced around a little bit since then, but I feel like he's a very good option. And as I say, this has happened between the shows, so we've also picked up safety, former Colt Ronnie Harrison as well. Now, in terms of, we were just talking about how deep we are at wide receiver. We are pretty deep in the secondary too, but I mean, if you see any negatives here, let me know. But I feel like bringing in another two guys that are proven in a few different spots throughout the league, in different situations, there can't be anything wrong with bringing in more competition, surely.
To be honest, I've been burnt before with Jeff Okudah as the first round cornerback. He came in and effectively you think to yourself, this is the team that he's going to get back to being that first round draft pick player. And it literally came and gone. It wasn't. But again, you're hoping that, I mean, you're hearing that CJ Henderson had a chance he had a choice of what team to go to, and he chose Atlanta. Now, I'd love to know what the other teams were, but effectively, as I said, when you start to get to a point where you're competing or you've got a quarterback that allows you to compete, then that's when players start to effectively choose your team. What are we going to get from CJ Henderson? I don't really know. I don't know much about him. I do know that, and you hear on the media that effectively Raheem Morris wanted CJ Henderson over AJ Terrell, and you effectively see how AJ Terrell was. I mean, he's a number 9 pick in the 2020 draft. The talent is there. For whatever reason, he's lost his way.
And it's not like it was a small school guy that balled out. I mean, he was a Florida Gator, so he was playing in a big conference with some big ass teams. So I feel like there's nothing we can really we can't go wrong as I say, in terms of practice squad and things like that, it could. I don't think he's going to come in the situation that Kuda was in, because I feel like the way that he played the game, especially in Pittsburgh last year, he's a different style of corner, and I just feel like he's got a length to him and a way of playing the ball over the top of the man, which I really really like. So I'll be interested to see what he brings. And a special shout out to the boss lady. Better late than never. We're thrilled as always to see you in the building.
Absolutely. But again, it comes down to when CJ Henderson went to Jacksonville and he was drafted, they wanted a cornerback one. They wanted the effectively a lockdown cornerback. Effectively, when these guys step back and they don't have to be cornerback 1 or 2, they can just be effectively cornerback 3. It allows them to find their niche and allows them to find a place. And you're hoping effectively that the play that the other coaching staff haven't been able to get out of CJ Henderson, that effectively Jeff Ulbrich will be able to bring that out in CJ Henderson. You know what I mean? And effectively stop us, or effectively allow us to not have to take a possible first round. Well, we've not got the first round pick, but effectively take a cornerback for our first pick in the 2026 draft, because it is one of the, apart from AJ Terrell, Mike Hughes, there is a lot of there's not a lot of depth at cornerback. It is one of the places that effectively we do need to strengthen, and Terry Fontenot showed that by effectively bringing in CJ Henderson, so he sees it the same way.
Yeah. And again, some of these nickel guys could go corner. You could play D. Alford at corner. You could play Kobe Bryant as a straight corner. And that's where versatility comes in. And then to shout out D again, he's just mentioned Clark Phillips III, who's another guy I really like. But again, it's gonna get tough, because we're going to lose guys we like here. Especially because we're so deep in wide receiver that there's going to be a couple of nice bodies going. The more I look at that list, especially when you start shopping it up to guys like Nick Nash, Kadaro Hodge, David Sills, as I say, Casey Washington's coming on really well. And they're all going to be kind of looking to challenge Ray for that wide receiver 3 role. But then you add into the mix, we've also got Jamal Agnew. We've also just signed DJ Chark. So, I mean, there's going to be some bodies missing here to where we go, yeah, you kind of... It's one thing I would warn the fans this year. Some of these cuts are going to sting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean... there needs to be a point where we're watching players getting cut and you're thinking, I can't believe that this guy, he was literally a bastion for the defense or the offense for the last couple of years, but we need to improve from the last couple of years. The last couple of years was losing years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had losing records, so effectively for us to get better, we need to move on from some of these players. And that's just,
and as you say, as much as we can love the players, like I've no ill will. Well, I've got a tiny bit because we offered him the team friendly deal and he opted not to take it. But I have a lot of love for what Grady done in Atlanta. I'm not going to hold anything against the man for him wanting to go and get that bag. Fair enough, you do you. But at the same time, it's very much from a business standpoint. What have you done for me lately, league? And when you've been mediocre for the better part of the last half a decade with the same guys, something's obviously got to give. And I feel like the Falcons knew that. And another great shout here, when we were talking about players earlier to watch, Khalid Kareem. I hear a lot of good things out Nate Ollie about him. They plan on using him quite heavily in the rotation as well, so I expect to see some good things out of him, because the word from camp has been quite reassuring on him. as well. So,
but again, as I say, if we improve, if we're looking to improve, I'll say again, there shouldn't be a time where effectively a Canadian Football League player can come down in the practice squad and end up on our main roster. We should have again, no disrespect to D. Alford. It's phenomenal what he's done, but effectively, if our roster was strong enough, he wouldn't have got there. Appreciate everything he's done and what he's doing for us, and I hope he gets on this roster. Because I think this is probably going to be the hardest he's ever had to train and play to get on a roster. But that's the way it should be. You know what I mean? It's effectively the NFL. It shouldn't be easy. It should be hard.
Yeah, and to his detriment, I mean, he didn't look too convincing against Detroit. Couple of blown plays, but I know he's that type of pro. I know he can shake it off, and I know he can get back into it. As I said, I like D a lot. I think he's a solid option for that sort of nickel, dime, 3 and 4 corner package sort of stuff. But he needs to step it up because there's a lot of guys that are going to be nipping his heels this off season. And just as we've just said, like more coming in every time. So D knows D apparently. So D Coleman said D's already overachieved in the NFL, but you always have to look to improve. No one is exempt. 100%. Even when you look at guys like your DeMarcus Wares and your Von Millers and stuff like that, they knew that they'd played perennially Pro Bowl league football, but they measured their career by whether or not they could leave the game with a ring. And so, as I say in the instance of D, where a career-long cowboy becomes a Bronco just to get that ring. But yeah, as you say, like you need to look at improving yourself to a point where you then need to improve the situation around you. And I feel like that's where we are getting as a team. I feel like we've improved enough to where we have elite players in multiple spaces, both on offense and on defense. And it's just a matter of just letting them get adjusted to the schemes and the rotations and mixing it up and things like that. And then hopefully we should be all good.
Well, we've showed that this defense isn't good enough. We've showed that effectively the last few years it was the defense that was holding this team back. So effectively, there's going to have to, at some point when the cuts kick, there's going to be players that effectively have been on this. And I've said Clark Phillips III. I think there's a good chance that Clark Phillips III doesn't make this 53-man roster. You know what I mean? DeMarco Hellams, we discussed DeMarco Hellams because he had the injury, but effectively that, I mean, we don't need to see any more of that, man. Keep that man for the first game. We don't want him getting injured. You know what I mean? Because that man puts everything on the line. That guy, I don't know what's happened. That guy's injected Atlanta Falcons into his blood because he effectively he puts everything on the line. Whatever the scenario, whatever the case is, tackle wise, he puts everything in. So again, if I'm Raheem Morris, I'm keeping him back. DeMarco, we've seen enough. Let's keep you for the first game, and then again just move down the line and see what we can get from some of the other players. You know what I mean? If they're not good enough, move them on. Again, I'll go back to what Kyle Smith said at one of his pressers a few weeks ago. They're always reviewing everybody else's squad. So when the cuts happen, they're there to take it. And what I would say is even the 53-man squad, when the 53-man squad gets announced, I guarantee you, right after that, you'll start seeing picks you'll start seeing people get cut from the squad and other players get brought in. You know what I mean? The one thing about Terry Fontenot is he's always trying to improve this squad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can't naysay him for that because, as I say, at every instance he's tried to bring in the right right players in the right places, so to speak. And speaking of the right players in the right places, let's get into the big crux of it for before Friday night. So I've got the newest week 2 preseason depth chart here in front of me. From what I can see, it's mostly going to be the same. We're not going to see any of, obviously, MPJ. I was thinking we might have seen a sprinkling of Kirk, but knowing that it's Tennessee, I don't really see that either. But the one thing that's really sticking out to me, obviously, I don't know if this is inclusive of any pup, but they've got JD Bertrand listed at second backer ready to go. So I don't know if that's just his progression. So I'll need to check that again. And also, right in behind D. Alford, you've got Billy Bowman Jr. Now, it's not a name that I've heard as much as what's his name through training camp, but I have heard bits and pieces of how well he's been playing. So I feel like he's another solid option because he's got the physicality from being basically groomed at Oklahoma, playing in again a huge conference, to where he's not the biggest guy, but he'll come up and he'll mix it up in the box, which I love to see. I mean, and I know you're quite a big fan of Billy Bowman too, aren't you, Des?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, the guy. I mean, we've just drafted him, so he's making the 53-man roster. I think the thing that jumps out at me is behind AJ Terrell at cornerback, they've got Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm. And then Kobe Bryant. Yep.
Yeah, then Kobe Bryant. So again, we've heard a lot about Lamar Jackson. He's obviously got that name, you know what I mean? So we've heard a lot about Lamar Jackson in practice and training camp and everything. And effectively, what the coaches have seen that they're happy with. So, I mean, as I say, the one thing that the defense has shown in the last few years is that effectively it needs to be there needs to be a lot of change to be made. So, I mean, the other thing that I think surprising is that behind Mike Hughes you've got Clark Phillips the third, and then behind him you've got Natron Brooks. And again, you're hearing really good things about Natron Brooks and with the Titans matchup. So again, that's something to look out for as well.
And Natron Brooks is also making some leg room in terms of the special teams as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
looking at kick returner, he's up to fourth now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, looking at this kick return and punt return unit, we seem to be pretty set on specials. I see Agnew, McLeod, Hughes, Alford, Brooks, Drummond, Matthews, a wee bit of Nathan Carter, who, yeah, as I say, I'd like to see him get some more carries. Whoever it was said that in the chat. I think it was D. I wouldn't mind seeing Nathan Carter get a few more carries. Obviously, he was showing that he was kind of ready to get into the game before Morris got hurt as well. And I agree with Helms. He believes he can start, and I think he can too. I feel like it's going to be very, very tough between him and Xavier Watts. Who do you start opposite Jesse? It's almost one of those things where on their night you could have either or, but
again, it's down to having the depth. You know what I mean? Effectively, the one thing I would say is that the most teams, if you look at most NFL teams and you look at the first squad all looks really good. You know what I mean? Most teams have got good first squads. It's when the injuries start and they have to then go to the depth guys. That's when it starts getting issue. When the issues start, you know what I mean. Again, we need to be in a position where we've got, as they keep on saying, next man up. You know, we need to have the depth in place that when injuries happen, and they will happen, that effectively it's next man up. You know what I mean? And again, that's down to the coaches to make sure that their players are ready for that. But again, I would say is that some of these players, I don't want a player to be on my team because he's been on my team for a few years. I want that player to be on my team because he's good enough to be on my team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'll say it again. Come cut time, there's going to be a lot of shocks.
Yeah, and there's another one. Do you think Lamar's not going to make it? And to be honest, with the amount of competition in the DB room, it's completely feasible that he doesn't make it, or that Kobe doesn't. One of those two guys, because of just how much are competing with Natron Brooks up and coming as well, and it depends on a lot on like what guys like D Alford are going to be doing, but again, it's that we're so stacked, especially at wide receiver and DB, that inevitably we can't keep them all. We've got about 10, 11 receivers right now, and we're going to be keeping about 6 or 7. So it's going to get tough.
Again, it comes down to what players that they put out in this next preseason game. Because effectively, the players they put out in the preseason game will be players that effectively the coaches want these guys to prove themselves. And as I said, DeMarco Hellams has done enough for me. I wouldn't expect to see him. I think I would do it the same way we done with the pass rush, with the edge. Effectively, just rotate them, just let them get a wee feel for it and rotate them, and constantly rotate them and see what happens. I mean, you've got a lot of players that effectively need a wee bit of the dusting down the cobwebs a wee bit. So again, just let them rotate. Yeah. We know we're not going to see Michael Penix. They've effectively said that they don't think Kirk Cousins is going to play. Now, going on training camp and going on the Titans thing, Kirk Cousins has been again lighting it up in training camp. He's been phenomenal. So again, he's injury free. They're not going to. You can yawn if you want, mate. I'm bored. I'm bored sometimes. You know what I mean? What can I say?
No, it's. I pulled an all-nighter to pull this show together, so I'm currently up for. Hold on, it's 10 o'clock now, so you're talking about 3, 7, that'd be 20, 31 hours.
Crazy, man. Crazy.
No, when your boy says he's up for a grind, he says he's gonna grind.
It's just when you see that the yawn face. I'm trying to stop yawning. I'm just yawning, you know what I mean? I've got the old energy drink going, you know what I mean? So,
no, for all you kids in the chat, when you will reach an age where you can't hide your tiredness anymore, no matter how hard you try.
and that's probably after a good night's sleep. You wake up and you still feel tired.
Those are the worst ones, or when you actually do get a good sleep and you wake up like 10 hours later and go, "Where am I?"
Absolutely.
Those ones do hit different, but yeah, there's been a lot of great chat tonight. You guys have really kept us going as well. I know there's a lot to get through, but we really appreciate it. But now I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the opposition squad. I've got Tennessee's team here, and we'll get into a couple of specifics from training camp with them, but we might see some of Tyjae Spears at running back, but again, if we keep the rotation right, that doesn't give me too much concern. They're fairly deep with wide receivers: Ridley, Van Jefferson, Tyler Lockett, James Proch II. So I mean, they're not a bad team. But the real question is how many of these guys are you going to see? Because you've got young JC Latham on the offensive line as well.
They've got Van Jefferson at wide receiver 1. That
tells you a lot.
Yeah. That's out. Yeah. As I said, we're not looking at the Titans as being the benchmark for us. Even with our second or third string, we should probably. I mean, it doesn't really matter in preseason, but we should win this game easily on Friday.
Oh yeah.
D Coleman's asking what time it starts here for us. So
I'm just going to double check that. 7 is it again?
It's midnight for us. Yeah, it's
Aye,
midnight.
right.
Yeah, it starts midnight for us. So effectively, the last game last week when obviously the injury happened, I headed to bed at 2:45. No, it's in fact 2:50 in the morning. When I got to my bed, and I was up at 7 o'clock in the morning to go to work. So, so
for anybody out here, you know what the naysayers are like that will tell you that the Falcons don't know how to grind. Even the international Falcons know what grind is like. So as I say, when your boys tell you that they're going to be here and they're going to talk some birds with you, that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. And
even if I have to prop my eyes up.
And when we say we're dedicated, we're literally staying up to midnight to watch a pre-season game, which is effectively the most vanilla game you're ever going to see. You know what I mean? So,
and sometimes it's not even us. I mean, we watched me, Maggie, and Jill watched the Colts game the night before, and that was even less entertaining. I can assure you, you can count yourself lucky you missed that one.
I've always said it's probably the worst thing about me in the NFL is that for me it's always the Atlanta Falcons. I'm only interested in a team when they're about to play the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, when you're doing a show about the Atlanta Falcons, that's not a problem. But when you then start talking about other teams, it's like, well, I remember Van Jefferson. He was here, and he wasn't very good.
Yeah, and they're listing him at wide receiver 1, and I've got a similar kind of quandary with our cornerback room because they're listing L'Jarius Sneed at 1, and then they're listing Amani Oruwariye at the bottom. When I feel like Amani Oruwariye is every bit as good as L'Jarius Sneed, he's probably in terms of ceiling going to surpass him. So be that as it may, but I think we're going to see a lot of Amani Oruwariye. I think he's going to be the main guy that if we see any kind of big play receivers on the night, that's who they're going to send on him is Oruwariye. He's, again, a little undersized for safety, but he can hit and likes to play out kind of inside-outside as well. So he's one that through the 2 days of camp, he's made a few plays as well. So if he gets some time, then I'll advise on him. But outside of that, I don't really think Tennessee's got much to scare us. I mean, I set up a little section towards the tail end of this about specifically will we see another round of AJ Terrell and Calvin Ridley? But fact of the matter is probably not. As entertaining as that was. But as I say, I just brought that up in terms of we wanted to get into some of the comments and things like that, but we covered all that earlier. So I mean, all that, like, in terms of potential keys for me, a big one is just going to be, can we generate a high and consistent level of defensive pressure? Because I feel like we kind of gave up a little bit against the Lions. We looked really, really good in the first half. We were screaming towards the ball, getting after the QB, but I feel like in the third quarter and especially into the start of the fourth, the defense, especially against the run, it fell away and it was completely lackluster.
Yeah. I mean, I've got my notes for that game, and I think one of them was defense not setting up for mobile quarterback, and again, effectively the run game was non-existent due to the way the O-line played as well. And again, we discussed this earlier on. It's what came first, the chicken or the egg. It's like, are you a good running back, or is it because you've got a good O-line? So again, they come together. You know what I mean? I mean, what I would say, looking at the Tennessee, I mean, they've probably the one player that I see that jumps out, and they've not even got him very high. I'm pretty sure he'll probably play, is Xavier Restrepo, who came from Miami, who was in college, was a phenomenal running back, wide receiver. So again, again, good player. So again, we'll probably see the second or the third string from both teams. But what I would say is, although we think our second string, third string aren't great, I mean, if you're coming up against effectively the team that was a first overall draft pick, you expect this to be. You expect some of these players like the Casey Washingtons and the Chris Blairs and they kind of players in is it Sykes,
Sells.
Yeah, Sills. Again, we expect the players to effectively have a good night. You know what I mean? But again, if it's Easton Stick again, I don't know if Raheem Morris has come out and said who's going to be the quarterback. I'm assuming it's going to be Easton Stick again. It might be.
I would think so, because I didn't see a lot of Emery Jones. Although, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you say something along the lines of essentially he was brought in to be a shadow man for Jaden Daniels when we were preparing for Washington, and we were just impressed with his skill set. So, I mean,
and we kept him. And again, we might start the game with Emery Jones this time.
Yep.
What I would say is, what Zach Robinson does with Emery Jones, keep an eye on it, because I honestly believe, and again, I'll say it again, I honestly believe that Michael Penix Jr. is going to be more mobile this year than even we expect him to be. And again, when you look back at the game last week, there was times when Emery Jones was doing was effectively making runs. And if you think to yourself, is this have they got Emery Jones there just to kind of test some of these schemes for Michael Penix Jr. to see whether it would work for him? So if Emery Jones does start, it's all about what schemes they have. And I know it's going to be a vanilla scheme, but it'll be all about what kind of schemes they do for Emery Jones.
Yeah.
Because I honestly believe there's going to be schemes there that they're trying just to see whether they would work for Michael Penix Jr. or not.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, knowing, as you say, the way, I mean, we were talking about it from the perspective of Ulbrich, but any real coordinator should know all the guys in their personnel department and know what things they do well. So if you can scheme something up for, say, Emery or Easton, and it plays off, he goes, but I won't be throwing that in regular season with an Easton Stick or an Emery Jones. It's going to be Mike that's throwing that ball. Yeah. So how would I... And he can start to kind of do the mental reps almost before he's put that play in place. So, yeah, I feel like, again, as you say, having the 3 preseason games, I feel like it was definitely a good shout bringing it down from 4, because essentially, if you wanted to be one of these people who ramped up to starting, then you could essentially go third stringers to second stringers into your minimal starters the last week and things like that, so that they still get a taste before real action. But just in terms of like what it allows you to do with the coaching staff that we've got, having a slightly shorter off season, but in a way more compressed, getting the 2 days of combined camp right into a game. Yeah, I'm expecting to see the team come out firing, maybe not on all cylinders. Maybe that's a bit optimistic, but yeah, I feel like we're going to bring too much for Tennessee to handle on Friday. For me, do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I don't think for me it's all about the result. It's preseason. The whole point is to watch some of these players and see who again elevates themselves in this game. That's the interesting part, because from my point of view, the difference between effectively the Lions game and this game is that we've had a chance to see the opposition. So we the defense and the offense have played against each other. So we've been able to see them for a wee bit, and then it will be interesting to see what schemes that Jeff Ulbrich brings up and what schemes Zach Robinson brings up, because they've been watching the opposition. So again, it's as much for how inventive the coaching staff are to how good the players are. So and again, if you've got a good coaching staff, you want the coaching staff to effectively play on the weakness of the team you're playing. So let's see if that happens. But
yeah,
for me, it's less about the actual scoreline. I'm not really caring about the scoreline. Nobody's won the Lombardi in pre-season.
yeah,
It's all about the players that are going to elevate themselves above that. Maybe like the wide receiver, 7, 6, and 7. Who's going to
yeah,
effectively elevate themselves to that? And then you've got linebacker, cornerback. Oh, there'll be some player that we're talking about Saturday night that we probably haven't talked about at all in the last few shows that effectively is going to have a phenomenal, like Dylan Drummond. We hadn't
yep,
spoke about Dylan Drummond at all. So again, does he? And again, with some of these players, you can tell me, well, some players are just not very good trainers. They're
yeah.
not good when it comes to training. But when
Mhm.
you then put them on a live field, they again they elevate themselves and become better.
Yeah,
So
we have encountered people that we would call natural athletes. They don't seemingly have to work very hard at it. They're not in the gym, they're not lifting, they're not out running the track. But tell him to run a 30-yard deep post and he'll be there every time. There's just certain people that are gifted like that, and in a way, I would love to have that skill set, but um, I guess it's a chess game too, so we need the guys that have the more kind of cognitive and detail oriented side of things too, and that's why I love having Jeff Ulbrich in there as well, because he's very much, oh no, I know your skill set and I know what I can do with it.
yeah,
And you love to hear it, and he's getting behind these guys and he's like, no, I'll find a place where you can do some damage because I'll be running schemes and blah blah blah, and it's just like, no, okay. But as I say, like we'll see what happens when we come to the season, because at the same time I don't want them to install too much, as I said, with the rotations and packages and things of this nature. But that's something that they're, as I say, the more reps they're going to do, the more second nature it's going to come. And again, to take the expectation's been so high, especially for Walker and Pierce, that I almost have to. I almost feel like a prick for saying this, but remember they are still rookies. So if they don't get 6, 8, 10 sacks each this season, it's maybe not the end of the world. And that's why I've been trying to say, yeah, Lombardi would be amazing, and we're right in the mix. But if it doesn't happen this year, just we need to remember. I know we said that a lot last season, and it started to get nauseating. But trust the process a little bit, especially now that you've seen what we've done through the whole draft and UDFA and free agency period. Just trust the process a little bit more. We don't have to win the Lombardi this year to prove that we're back and taking care of our business. Do you know what I mean? Um,
um,
but that's what I would just say to some of the fans that are going like, no, it's Lombardi or bust. I wouldn't put so much pressure on us. I think we'll be just fine with running the south and seeing where we go from there. I'd be happy with that. 12-5 out of the south, and then see what happens in the playoffs. Because if we can shore up, as you say, the corner next year, maybe opposite AJ, a few wee bits and pieces with the guys that weren't performing this year, then who knows where we are. But again, that's all kind of hypotheticals and pipelines. So before we start kind of getting into the winding down section of the show, you've been phenomenal down in the chat all
yeah.
night. So if you've got any more questions, anything else you want us to discuss or touch on, or then by all means, just fire it down in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, who are you looking forward to seeing play wise in Friday nights? I always say Friday night. It's Saturday morning for us, but if you're watching, who do you think? Who are you looking to see? So,
I want to see some more of Nick Nash. Chris Blair's pleasantly surprised me, and Nash has made some great catches in camp. I want to see him step up in a game. And if I could give you one from the defensive side of the ball, maybe Contavious Street, because I feel like he's right on that line where we were talking about were guys like Lamar Jackson and things like that. I feel like Kentavious Street's another one of those names that's right in the sort of mix of will he, won't he make the 53. So I'd be interested to see what he can bring to the table.
I mean, for me, I'm looking, because we've not really seen a lot of him. JD Bertram, I want to see what he can do. You know what I mean? I mean, everybody remembers the phone call, Captain America, get your arse up here. You know what I mean? So, effectively, Captain America has not been doing too well the last wee while. So, he needs to get that shield all polished and get back from retirement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other one is Natron Brooks as well. I've been really impressed with what he's done. So again, he's the kind of player that effectively could get onto this 53-man roster. And again, the interesting thing is that you're hearing players. I mean, you look at Dylan Drummond. I'm just going to look and see where Dylan Drummond actually is at the moment on wide receiver. And effectively he's behind, so he's effectively wide receiver 3 behind Ray McLeod, Jamal Agnew, and then Dylan Drummond. And effectively he had a phenomenal game. So you look at that
end around they caught. Like I remember saying to you and Cam, "Oh, all right, man, I see you," because we'd been so conditioned to be looking for the likes of Agnew or as we say, Nash. That when we seen 81 balling out, or even Chris Blair, when we seen Dylan Drummond doing so well, it was pleasantly surprised. But then at the same time, we were kind of going, that's going to make things even more trickier, because now another receiver's stepping up as well. So
yeah, and again, we need to see this O-line, this backup O-line. And again, when you look at it, like Storm Norton, we know what Storm Norton can do. You know what I mean? Elijah Wilkinson, he's a good backup. You know what I mean? Javon Gwynn, there's a lot of questions on Javon Gwynn. So again, he's effectively our centre too.
Yep. Although we did bring in Jake Hansen from the Lions to compete, and I think that was a great shout, because I think he can beat out Gwynn quite easily, and we could have Newsel and Hansen as the two centres. I feel like it could be going that way.
Yeah.
And a shout out to Super John Goldsmith down in the chat. It's the first time I can remember seeing you on.
Absolutely,
so, So please don't make it the last. We're glad to see you.
Absolutely.
Drummond looked good, but he's got to hope for the practice squad. Yeah, again, when you're 10, 12 receivers deep and everybody's making plays, it's going to get touchy a little closer to the season. But
and then he's put as well. We need Mooney to be healthy for game 1. Absolutely. As we said earlier in the show, there's no NFL team that can effectively lose. He should have been 1,000 yards wide receiver if he hadn't have been injured for the last game. I think 992 yards he had. So no NFL team can lose a player like that and not suffer. So absolutely. The benefit is the fact that Michael Penix said that in the off season, him and Mooney actually got away and were practicing together. So effectively, they know each other. So him being away from training camp, I don't think it's a major issue. And the quicker we get him back, the better. Super John Goldsmith, absolutely.
100%. Because as I say, I feel like on his day, he's got a ceiling himself, or maybe top 15. When he plays, he's right in that mix. Because 900 and what did you say? 992.
992, I think. Yeah,
992.
Literally just a.
For clarification's sake, I think T. Higgins only had about 960.
Yeah,
and that's somebody who's considered top 5, top 8.
Yeah.
So he's really putting up numbers that make you think, okay, maybe Atlanta's really got something pass attack wise. It's not just a one man game, and that's what I want. I want to have that threat like Cincinnati do, where or Miami with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, where you don't know which one of them's getting the ball because they're both balling out.
But the other thing to look at, as well, did you see the one-handed catch from Kyle Pitts?
I did. Shout out for that one. That was tasty. And he wasn't even
Listen,
wearing any gloves either. He done it barehanded.
absolutely. So again, it's going to be a case of, as Michael Penix Jr. says, who are you going to show to? I'll show to whoever's opened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but if you've got Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod, then effectively, hearing a few of the comments from practice, seemingly there's been a lot of two running backs in the back. And Bijan has been effectively moving and becoming a wide receiver, while Tyler Algier effectively becomes a blocker. So seemingly, again, from what I've heard, this is a Sean McVay scheme. But again, the way to look at it is you've got Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod, you've got Kyle Pitts, you've then got Bijan Robinson that you're having to deal with as well. And when we talk about this movement, this is what we're looking at, the movement of you're going to have like one tight end, you're maybe going to have two running backs, and effectively Bijan's then, so it's going to be a play action pass, and then Bijan gets the ball and because of the way the defense is worked out, he's got a free space to do what he wants to do. And then
again, it opens up options, because if they then bite going, Bijan's gone out wide, we can then just go classic split I form and just run Ty as a fullback and Bijan as a tailback and just run it like 60s style if we have to. Because I feel like, he's not as big as like your Mike Allstotts or your Christian Okoye's or anything like that. But I feel like in a kind of semi-fullback role, I feel like Tyler would do pretty well. At least in some of these situational things and goal line and things, just to blow a hole. I feel like it could be useful. But yeah, a lot of it now is kind of sitting going, but what Falcons are we going to see? Because our heads are still kind of ticking over about what kind of playbook you're going to see and what personnel and what places. So it's the beauty of pre-season is we can kill 3 hours on hypotheticals.
Listen, we need to have faith, as you said earlier. We need to have faith in the process. You know what I mean? I believe in this offense. I mean, to be honest, if this isn't a top 5 offense, people have to lose their jobs on it. I mean, it's there's no doubt. It's all about how the defense is going to go. And to be honest, when you're looking at, like, I mean, Jeff Ulbrich was on the, I don't know what they call it, on the sled.
Oh, so
he was doing the blocking as well with the D line as well. So so the camaraderie is there. You see a lot of they seem to be enjoying themselves. You know what I mean? And again, that's a good thing. The coaches are getting involved. You see when Raheem's mic'd up, he's always laughing and joking. Yeah, there's a serious part to it, but you want to enjoy it. You want to be enjoying what you're doing. You know what I mean? So
and look at the coaches even trash talking each other. What, Brick? You not going to give me a couple of plays to get this offense warmed up? You don't get no fucking warm up with my defense.
Brilliant. I mean, as I say, it all looks good. I think that, I mean, the defense can't be any worse than it was last year. I mean, It was bad.
I swear, like someday, I swear sometimes, and you can call me insane if you like, but if somebody came to me on the right night and went, I've got only two games that you can watch here, either 28-3 or the game we played last year against LA. No, was it LA or was it Denver? Where we were playing the corner, 13 yards after the line of scrimmage, and it's like, oh my God, a rookie's looking like fucking Joe Montana here. It was,
But again, that's where we need to be. Well, we need to be in a position where how many times have we talk about it, we play well against the good teams, and then we go out and we absolutely, effectively shit the bed with the bad teams.
Yeah.
We need to take a leaf out of the 2016 offense and effectively run over these teams. When you see what's happening with the offense at the Titans practice in the first day, they absolutely ran over them. The Titans didn't know what was happening. They literally dominated them. And then the second day, the Titans come out and there was a lot of flags yet. And so effectively, the Titans come out and said, "Well, if we can't beat you, we're going to do everything we can to get an edge." And there was a lot of flags. So
I feel like there is no edge because I mean they perennially say of the 8 divisions that make up the NFL, they would perennially put the NFC South in the bottom two. And without any kind of bias, I would probably say that if you talk about all 4 teams together, you would be right. But the only division worse than the NFC South is the AFC South.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody there that's worth anything.
Absolutely.
Houston's okay on their night, but outside of that, you're really struggling, The Colts, I don't see the Colts threatening us in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, that's a game you want to win. I mean, you've got the Jags who Trevor Lawrence needs to work out whether he's going to be a Hall of Famer or a bust. He just needs to decide what are you going to be, Trevor? You know what I mean?
Are you going to throw 40 touchdowns, or are you going to sign up to be L'Oreal's new spokesperson? Just make your pick and do it now.
Yeah. Just decide if you're going to be a bust. Let us know, and then at least the Jags can then move on from you. You know what I mean? Because I mean, he was called a generational quarterback. Now, the last generational quarterback before that was Andrew Luck.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're not telling me Trevor Lawrence is anywhere touching Andrew Luck. You know what I mean? So
he's not got the weapons to be. He's not got like an older Reggie Wayne, Marcus Colston for a year and a half. They've not invested in the weapons, and giving him Travis Hunter's nice, but I feel like they invested so much in paying him because he came with this generational tag that now they can't. Now they're hamstrung in putting weapons around him, and I feel like that's the problem for Lawrence. I feel like he's fundamentally a good quarterback, but he just shouldn't. Another thing, he just shouldn't run the ball. When you're 6'6.5" and 220 and you're that long, you shouldn't really be running the way he's running. So that's going to cut his career short if he's not careful. Look at that Alshire hit. You can't take too many of those and expect to play for 15, 18 years.
Yeah. And then you look at the Titans as well, and effectively the Titans they've got Cam Ward as the next big thing. You know what I mean? Again, you need to understand that he's a rookie. You know what I mean? And I
don't think he was that great personally.
Well, see, to be honest, if you look at the 2024 draft against some of the quarterbacks, are you telling me that Cam Ward would have been picked over Michael Penix Jr.? Not a chance.
No,
I wouldn't even. I'd probably say maybe there's a possibility that he maybe gets in before JJ McCarthy. But
even then, it's a possibility. It's not set in stone.
Yeah, but again, you go back to what Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris said the night that they drafted Michael Penix Jr. We don't believe we're going to be this high, and we don't know what's coming in the next draft. Now, they did know what was coming. Everybody knew what was coming in the next draft. Effectively, there was nothing there. You had Cam Ward and then the rest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And this is the thing. Even with an honorary mention to Cam and even Shedeur Sanders, who's played fairly well since coming into Cleveland, the drop off after that was staggering. I mean, did you happen to see? I mean, shout out to the Longhorns, but that's where it ends for me, because did you see Quinn Ewers' debut in Miami?
Yeah,
5 for 18. Yeah. That's diabolical work, and it's like, are you sure you played in an SEC school, kid?
That's like, but that's a scheme quarterback. That's a quarterback that's used to a scheme. And I mean, again, if you want to talk about SEC, I mean, the former Georgia Bulldog, Bennett, what was his first name? I'm trying to remember.
Stetson Bennett.
He again, he had a great game for the Rams. He had a great game. And then you look at Trey Lance. Trey Lance had a great game as well for the
Chargers.
Trey Lance.
Chargers, I think he's backing up J-Herb.
Chargers. And again, that's all about allowing a rookie quarterback the time to develop.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I'll go out to I will take the 5 games where Kirk Cousins effectively done nothing, if that means that we get a franchise quarterback in Michael Penix Jr.
100%.
Because there's a possibility if we'd have brought him on any earlier, that there's a chance that his development is quashed. You know what I mean? So you then look at Cam Ward, who effectively is getting thrown into the fire straight away.
Yeah.
And again, he's going to struggle because Tennessee is a team, isn't a good team.
Yeah. And as I said to my mum as well, she's a Dallas fan, as you know, and we see Dallas to finish out the off-season. And that's one thing I says to her, Dak's never going to be the guy. So I don't know why Dallas got rid of Trey Lance, because I feel like he could have been the guy if they got the weapons around him in Dallas. I feel like he could have maybe done something, but as I say, that you know what the Cowboys are like when it comes to business decisions.
Yeah. I mean, they've just been, I think it's at $10.8 billion they're worth. So they're the most expensive. So they're a highest valued team in the world, which is just ridiculous for me, because it makes no sense to me from my point of view. But
I feel like. Tell me where you spot the lie if you do, but I mean, I feel like it's like putting brand new rims on a fucking 20-year-old beaten up Toyota or something like that, and they're putting gold rims on it in Dallas, and I feel like it's not the way. But yeah, as I say, the Q&A is quieting down a little bit. We appreciate so much everybody showing love and all the great questions, all the great points. For the first time, we got to see a few new family in the chat, so we're glad to have you.
We're building the fan base, absolutely.
So, as we always kind of wrap up with, join the Kilted Revolution. So, for more information, show times, anything like that, or if you just want to talk about some topic ideas and come on and discuss it with us, then you can speak to myself, you can speak to Des, speak to Maggie. We're always looking for more people to join us. And then, as I say, from Atlanta to the world is the ethos of it all. And then, as I say, as always, if you're looking to get at me to kind of keep the conversation flowing, then you can get me on here at Will the Thrill Waddle. I'm also on X, Facebook. Don't bother on TikTok because you probably won't hear from me for a few weeks at a time. But yeah, as I say, anything you want maybe discussed in the future, or if you'd like to be part of it, we'd love to have you. So don't be shy. And as I say, you've got Des on the other side as well. If you're not a fan of me, then you can get at Des because he's my back door. So where can they get at you, Des, bro?
I would watch that backdoor thing, mate. Come on.
No, the Yanks will understand that better than we will. Survivor Series 1995. I rest my case.
See if I'm the back of the horse, mate, it's got a big arse. That's all I'm saying, you know what I mean? It's got a big arse. So yeah, you can get me on X, Twitter, Poison, if you're Kyle Pitts, whatever you call it, and just look out for Scottish Falcon.
And if you're going to be the horse's arse, I better look at a traffic cone real quick.
Absolutely, mate.
So just in closing, as always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And as you know by now, and if you're new to the Falcons, then you will learn that pain is international, but so is passion. Thanks again, guys. Much love.
Bye, guys.